Is it smarter to buy a home or invest? That is the question that many people have wondered. And it's a question that feels particularly pertinent right now. On the one hand, housing prices are absolutely zooming right now in the US. On the other hand, the stock market has had a particularly strong performance too. Ultimately, the decision to buy a house or invest in stocks comes down to your personal financial situation, your willingness to lose money, aka your risk tolerance, your goals both financially and personally, and your investment style. To best answer this question, the type of investment that I'm going to be referring to when I talk about buying a house is simply that. Buying a house to live in. Not a rental property or real estate investment trusts, otherwise known as REITs. There is a big distinction here, but for the most part, people want to know if they should invest in a house to live in, or spend their money investing in the stock market and continuing to rent. And that is where I'm going to focus. I am going to use 4 different scenarios to break down this question so I can properly answer it. Scenario 1. You want to make the most money possible and are deciding between the 2 options. Scenario 2. You are terrified of the stock market and think buying a house is a safe choice. Scenario 3. You think it's cheaper to buy than rent. And finally, scenario 4. You already invest in the stock market and want to buy a house. With all of these scenarios, I'm assuming that you're not in debt. But if you want to learn whether or not you can invest while in debt, then please check out our video on this very subject. I've left the link in the description. Okay, let's dive right on in. Scenario 1, you want to make the most money possible. If we look at this question from a pure math standpoint, then investing in the stock market is undeniably the way to go. From 1928 to 2018, the average annualized return on real estate was 3.7%, while stocks had a 9.5% annualized return over that same time period. Take another time period, 1975 to 2013. A $100 investment into the average home in 1975 would have grown to about $500 by 2013. A similar $100 investment in the good old S&P 500 over that same time period would have grown to $1,600. Big difference. It's just a fact. No matter which time period you choose, the stock market will outperform home ownership as an investment. And that's not even taking into account how much it costs to have a home. From taxes to repairs to closing costs. Owning a home is expensive. On top of paying a mortgage, home ownership costs the average American $13,153 annually. That's $13,000 that you will never get back. And it's not going towards the investment. Another factor that needs to be considered when you are buying a home is the fact that you are tying up a significant amount of money towards your down payment, which is usually around 20% of the home price. That's a lot of money going towards a mediocre performing investment. A big mistake that people make when making this decision is failing to calculate all of these factors. So you purely want to make money? Don't buy a home. Scenario 2, you are terrified of the stock market and think buying a house is safer. Since we already established that investing in stocks is the way to make the most amount of money, let's talk about why someone would have the opposite approach. Okay, let's say you are someone who is terrified of the stock market. If this is you, you should definitely follow us on all of our social channels and read our many articles on our website to teach yourself about the subject. Gotta love shameless plugs. Investing in the stock market can be scary, but you got this. That's literally why we're here. We understand that there are many reasons why you might be terrified of the stock market and trained to think that owning a home is the safer bet. There might be some family trauma with your reasoning, so talk to your family. What happened during the Great Depression? What happened during the Great Recession? Understanding your history might explain your hesitancy with the stock market. Sit and journal about it, and you can even seek professional help. It's important to understand the terror and find ways to move past it. Another thing to consider here is that it's ingrained in Americans that part of the American dream is owning a home. Our parents, grandparents, and for some, our great-grandparents would all say that owning a home is the dream and a good investment. But for many families, owning a home is the only investment that they did. There were lots of reasons for this, but the important thing to note is that this logic just doesn't really work in 2021. In fact, it could really hurt you. This is because investing in the stock market is really the only way to build wealth. This can be in the form of individual stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, etc. Sinking all of your money into a home is just not a sound idea. You need to retrain your thinking. A home is a consumption item, something you're going to use, a place to live. It is not the best strategy to build wealth, and the math on this backs it up every single time. Scenario 3, you think it's cheaper to buy than rent. So many people have been taught to believe that it's cheaper to buy a house than to rent. To that person, I would like to cue you in on one key point. Owning a home costs money beyond the initial investment. You have to pay for homeowners insurance, property taxes, landscaping and lawn care, closing costs, HOA and condo fees, and general upkeep, including the roof, appliances, floors, doors, plumbing, insects, mold, HVAC systems, utilities, electrical, etc. All in all, owning a home costs way more than the 20% down and a mortgage payment each month. It can actually be cheaper to rent in the long run, even as the average rent increases. Don't make the mistake of simply looking at your mortgage payment versus what you would be paying in rent. Don't tell yourself that the mortgage payment is an investment and rent is money going out the window. As discussed earlier, on average, there is an extra $13,000 of expenses associated with homeownership. It's this way of thinking that has led so many people to buy more house than when they rent, thinking that it's a sound investment. Please don't make this mistake. Whether you are renting a house to live or buying a house to live in, you are paying for a consumption item, a place to live in. It's so much easier to make the right financial decision when you are thinking of renting versus buying this way. Scenario 4, you already invest in the stock market and want to buy a house. Okay, so I know that I've been super down about buying a home, but I'm not against home ownership. I'm just against people buying a home thinking that it's the best way to build wealth. So if you want the best of both worlds, make sure to invest in the stock market and buy a home that is affordable to you. It's a great harmony of brain and emotions. If you can afford to invest in the stock market and be able to afford a 20% down payment on a home and the upkeep and costs and the mortgage, I mean, power to you. And why would you want to buy a home even while knowing it won't help you build wealth as fast as investing in the stock market? I mean, why do it? It's actually really simple. Owning a home is nice. Quite simply, owning a home makes you happier. It can give you a sense of security for many people, and that makes the expenses and the headaches more than worth it. It's also a way to diversify your assets, a hedge against keeping all of your money in cash or in the stock market. If you're already investing, this is a good thing. And here's a fun fact. I am buying a home and I invest. I'm not gonna actually say where I'm buying a home because, privacy, but I can say that it's a place in the world that I've wanted to purchase a home since I was like 5 years old, and I'm just so blessed and so excited. It's a huge deal for me, and I can't wait to grow my own food and host New Year's, and it's gonna be so much fun. I know that I am much more likely to make more money in the stock market, but I want to diversify my investments and it makes me so happy. I am so incredibly fortunate because I am investing and I'm able to continue building wealth for myself even when I do this. Okay, wrapping all of this up. Just me wrapping it up. On a pure math standpoint, investing in the stock market is the better investment. But owning a home is not just about math. Having a place to call your own and the stability that comes with it is fantastic for your mental health. If you reframe thinking about buying a home as an investment and more towards it being a consumption item, you are much more likely to make the right choices with your money in the long term. Hopefully this has inspired you to want to learn more about investing in the stock market. If you want to learn more about investing in stocks, check out our video on that. And be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And any questions that you have about real estate or stocks, please leave them in the comments below.